monthly. Thank you, Connie. We do hold monthly lunch and learns. Currently, they're all virtual, but I've heard feedback from several folks and interest to have some of these be in person. So stay tuned. As you're entering, Connie already mentioned this, but please put your name and organization into the chat box and introduce yourself. And I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Kendall Kuhneman, and I'm the program manager with the Detroit 2030 district. So we actually have 3 presenters today. Tracy Jeanall was unable to join us, but we have 2 others from Constellation who I will introduce later. We're going to have Constellation kick off with their presentation first. If you do have any questions, put them in the chat box. We will get to them at the end of their presentation and also at the very end of the meeting today. While the presenters are presenting, if you don't mind, turn your camera off and silence your microphone. And just a reminder, we are recording this meeting, so it will be posted to our Detroit 2030 District YouTube. So with that, I want to introduce Connie Lilly, who is the Executive Director of the Detroit 2030 District, and she's going to be providing an update on some of the work that we've been doing and just updates for all of you as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Kendall. Good afternoon now, everybody. I'm Connie. I know most of you in here. And welcome to our new people that haven't been to any of our meetings yet. There's a few of you today. So as Kendall mentioned, we've been doing these virtually since COVID hit, and they've been pretty popular. So we're kind of sticking with that plan for now. I do want to give an overview of who we are and what we do, and hopefully it's not too delayed. I feel like it's a little delayed on my screen here, but I just want to do this. I usually go through this rather quickly, about 5 minutes, to not interrupt with our presenters. But if you haven't heard lately, we've been adding more and more buildings to Detroit. We're now the 4th largest 2030 district in North America. And we are over 58 million square feet. So we're 5.5 years into our program, and excited that we've reached this milestone. And as you can see there, we have 40 sponsors, businesses that sponsor us in Detroit, 2 of them here presenting today, and like-minded nonprofits. We also have about 40 of those too. In case you don't know what 2030 districts are, it really stems from the 2030 district architecture, 2030 architecture challenge. Then an architect, Ed Mesria, challenged architects to build buildings better and renovate them better, all by the year 2030. So here we are many years later after that first challenge, and we're kind of revamping our name to be 2030 and beyond, because we know this is not a sprint, it's a marathon. But we're happy to report that today there's 23 districts across North America, and proud to have 3 in Michigan: Detroit, Grand Rapids, and Ann Arbor. As you can see there, there's quite a few square feet amongst all the districts, and it's growing. If you aren't familiar what we're doing, we're trying to reduce CO2 in our city by reducing energy and water consumption and transportation emissions. We take the data that our members give us and we aggregate it to develop our metrics and show our progress on how we're reducing those 3 metrics. Another part of it is if you're a new building in our district and it's 2030, we'd like that building to be carbon neutral. So we're working towards that too. So all districts pretty much have the same goals in mind, but they go about it differently. And everybody has the same 3 member types to belong to a district. You're either a property owner, building manager, or you're a business that wants to support the program, or you're a community stakeholder, which is a nonprofit. Our professional stakeholders are the only group that pay to belong, but they are the private businesses that bring this program to the public and to our building members. Detroit has 3 best practice groups that have been going for many years now, and it's really working out well. It gives these groups an opportunity to come together with the same building types and the same challenges and share best practices, which I think has been saving them a lot of time and getting a lot more progress on some of the changes in their buildings. We have a venue best practice group, a house of worship, a multifamily, and we had a museum best practice group, but it was going so well that it's national now with all the 2030 districts participating, and probably about 50 or 60 museums join us a few times a year for a national meeting. Our house of worship best practice, we team up with all of these partners here, and the EPA for congregations is a big partner. This was our last cohort of this program here, and we are in the middle of a new one now with 7 new houses of worship. So if you have a house of worship or know somebody that attends one or manages one in Detroit, please let us know, because it's been a great program for them. Kendall can probably tell you more about this if you have any questions, but we are gearing up already for our second Detroit Energy Challenge. So our building members need to have their data in by March 3rd in order to participate. And once you enter that, you're also become eligible for a Michigan Battle of the Buildings Award too. So they run together, which is pretty exciting. Last year, this was our first breakfast. It was a great meeting over at the IBEW NECA building, which is a net zero energy center. We're going to hold it there again this coming June. So here we show our winners, first, second, third, and honorable mentions. So we hope to see all of you there next June. Here's the date. So save the date for June 15th. And Kendall, do you want to cover this slide real fast? All right.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
So some of you who are new to the 2030 district, and even those who have been following us and part of the 2030 district for a while, you may not know that we now have 466 building members that are committed to carbon emission reduction goals in our program, and that number continues to grow. Of the 466, we actually have over 400 that are regularly tracking their energy data in the EPA's Energy Star Portfolio Manager, and sharing that with the Detroit 2030 district so that we can track how our district is doing as a whole. We also have over 200 buildings that are enrolled in a pilot program that's only offered to Detroit and Ann Arbor 2030 district building members. DTE has a pilot that actually provides 2 years, actually going back to January 1st of 2019, historic data, energy consumption data. And then they have a system to automatically update the data on a monthly basis in Energy Star Portfolio Manager so that our building members no longer need to manually input that data from their bills. We also have over 300 buildings that are enrolled in the Detroit Energy Challenge, and we encourage anyone who lives or works in a building in Detroit to sign up, and we're here to support you on the energy tracking side of things.
Okay, thanks. All right, back to me. Let me get my camera back up here. Sorry, I have to find it. Sorry, take me a minute. There we go. Okay, we have approximately 40 professional stakeholders that we talked about, and this is most of their logos. Hopefully I have them all in. It's kind of growing, so we thank all of them because this program wouldn't be there without them. We are the district with the most businesses that support us. It's a fairly new, well, I wouldn't say new, but when we started it was kind of a new concept to be able to get support from businesses as opposed to just grants, and it really opens up the door for more collaboration. So we're just really thankful for all of them for supporting this program. And if you want to get involved, there's several ways to do it. And the presenters today are statewide sponsors to all of the districts in Michigan. But these are the ways that you can get involved, just by adding a building into the program, sponsor an event, become a business, which is a professional stakeholder, or a volunteer. We have a lot of social media, so feel free to follow us on any of this and sign up for our newsletters. And that is it. So I'm going to let Kendall take it over.
Thank you, Connie. So I'm going to try to multitask here. I'm going to share our next presenter slides. Connie, do you mind unsharing?
Okay, I will unshare.
Thank you. All right, I think everybody can see my screen. So I am I wanted to introduce our two presenters from Constellation. Constellation joined as a statewide professional stakeholder supporting Detroit, Ann Arbor, and Grand Rapids, and we thank them for their support. Tracy Ginaw was unable to join us today, and so I'd like to introduce Javier Munoz and Jason Besser. They are both senior business development managers at Constellation and will be touching on sustainability, efficiency, and technology at Constellation. So Javier and Jason, just let me know when you need me to move the slides forward. And welcome. Thank you.
Thanks. Yep, if you could go to the first slide for me. First of all, thanks everyone for joining, and appreciate Detroit 2030 District for hosting this and asking us to speak today. We look forward to talking to you about Constellation, kind of who we are, what we do here in the Metro Detroit area, and how we can help our customers meet their energy needs and sustainability goals. My name is Jason Besser. I'm a senior business development manager. I've been in the energy industry for about 28 years now, helping customers manage their natural gas and electricity costs, as well as we're really getting into the sustainability side with Constellation. Also, I have Javier Munoz with us. I'll let him speak for a second, and then we'll begin.
Sure. Hello, everyone. I'm Javier Munoz, and I've been with Constellation for 20 years, and I've been in the business for 30 years in this energy business. In the last 5 years, there's been tremendous growth moving for this sustainability, and Constellation has moved along with that as well with products to help our customers. So we'll get started, and Jason, go ahead.
Thank you. So Constellation, we're the largest producer of carbon-free energy, and we're one of the nation's largest competitive energy suppliers. Through our integrated business operations, we supply electricity, natural gas, and innovative energy solutions, along with sustainability products to meet our customers' clean energy and climate goals. Our customers include distribution utilities, municipalities, cooperatives, commercial and industrial customers, public sector clients, and residential customers in markets throughout the United States that are deregulated. We serve approximately 2 million total customers, including 3/4 of the Fortune 100 companies. Our generation fleet of nuclear, hydro, wind, natural gas, and solar generation facilities has the generating capacity to power the equivalent of 15 million homes, producing 11% of the carbon-free energy in the United States. Constellation's fleet is helping to accelerate the nation's transition to a carbon-free future with more than 32,000 megawatts of capacity and an annual output that is nearly 90% carbon-free. This makes Constellation an important partner to businesses and state and local governments that are setting ambitious carbon reduction goals and seeking long-term solutions to the climate crisis. Constellation employs approximately 13,000 individuals. We do business in 48 states, the District of Columbia, Canada, and the United Kingdom. Next slide, please. So this gives you a little bit of a breakdown of kind of the sections of who we serve and what we do. So just kind of along the top, if you take a look at that, it shows the amount of power, natural gas, renewable supply, and energy efficiency carbon offsets that we're selling throughout the country. Down below, you'll see the 3 different buckets. Our wholesale book that deals with, that they're the part of our company that manages all of our generation. They deal a lot with power cooperatives, utilities, municipal power authorities, and financial institutions. Then there's the C&I, commercial and industrial space. That's where Javier and I do a lot. That's large commercial, industrial accounts, public sector accounts, small and medium commercial businesses. And then our third bucket is the mass market accounts, mostly residential, community aggregation programs, government aggregation, and just small businesses. And Constellation's corporate climate commitment is currently, we are going to be 100% carbon-free owned generation by 2040, 100% reduction in our operational emissions by 2040, and provide 100% of our commercial industrial customers GHG reports, which we completed last year. Next slide, please. So this slide, I just want to talk for a few minutes about, we have quite a unique program here in Michigan when it comes to natural gas. So if you look over in that map there, in that green highlighted area, in that section, I'll tell you kind of how this started. So back in 2001, when Detroit Edison was merging with Michigan Consolidated Gas, the FTC came in and said they didn't like the fact where that the two service territories overlapped, which is basically what you see there in the green on that map. We want it to be bid out to a third party. So our company ended up purchasing this distribution from Mishcon back in 2001. So that allows us to go into any customer served by DT for gas within Wayne and Washtenaw County. We can offer a guaranteed discount on the utility portion of the bill. So with that, we eliminate all the customer charges on the bill, all the surcharges. We discount the distribution rate that you're paying, and then we offer a fixed full requirements gas price for any term that the customer chooses, which helps. You can't lock your price of gas with the utility, so that helps with, with your budget. And then on the utility savings, it also offers a guaranteed saving every month for every meter going forward. We serve thousands of customers in Metro Detroit in this area that you see here, which include hospitals, school districts, restaurants, universities, many cities and villages, commercial industrial accounts, churches, apartments, and commercial buildings. Next slide, please. One more. Thank you. So this is Constellation's sustainability continuum. And here are some of the questions you might be thinking when you get to each one of these. So when you look at carbon tracking, you might be saying, am I trying to gather and analyze my emissions for my scope 1 and 2? Or I need to find my baseline emissions. How do I do that? Or we have a sustainability goal and we don't know where to start. And then when it comes to energy efficiency, you may need to reduce your scope 1 emissions. How do you do it? Or you need to reduce your energy usage for an energy efficiency commitment. How do you do that? Which we'll get to all these as we move on. The emissions offset and renewable supply. You want to reduce your scope 2 emissions. How do you do it? Or I've greened up my electricity. I'm ready to green up my natural gas. How can we do that? Or I'm working on a long-term sustainability strategy, but I need to do something today and show progress. How can I do that? And then we get to the final, monitoring and reporting. I need to audit and track the progress of my sustainability projects and initiatives. Or if I needed to do an efficiency project, what impact will it have? And finally, if I add a clean energy supply, how will it impact my footprint? Next slide, please. So this slide shows Constellation's artificial intelligent smart utility expense management program, which we call PAIR AI. Understanding utility bills can be time-consuming, costly, and challenging. Constellation provides an innovative approach to help customers with utility expense management. We call the PAIR AI platform. PAIR AI gives customers the power to take control and turn their energy data into one of the most valuable assets. It allows customers to proactively manage utility costs, understand trends, and develop strategies to optimize their energy spend and drive sustainability objectives. The PAIR AI platform and its virtual energy expert, SAM, can help customers generate energy insights, streamline and reduce operating costs with aggregated utility usage and spend data. SAM, our virtual assistant, which is similar to Siri on your iPhone, is a nice feature that you can just ask SAM right through your computer to pull up various reports, and it will get that data for you. So PAIR AI does, if you look in that blue box, these are the main points that it would do for all of your energy bills. That would be natural gas, electricity, water, and sewer, all can be loaded in this platform. So it does bill validation checks the accuracy of the bill charges from the utilities. It picks up any gaps in service dates or overlaps in service dates. It accounts for new meters and service accounts once those take place. Any fluctuations in charges or usage over time, it will alert you. Zombie accounts, those are basically accounts that have no usage on them that you can close. It will identify those. Duplicate bills and rebills, as well as past due amounts and late fees. Next slide, please. So through a recent acquisition Constellation just had several months ago, we're now able to build more robust reporting to meet our clients' needs when it comes to sustainability. This new platform automates 90% of the work it takes to account and track your carbon emissions, which makes reporting and reduction much easier for our clients. Our carbon accounting platform can calculate your entire carbon footprint and get insights to identify new net zero strategies. Next slide. This platform has an easy to use tool for calculating and reporting your carbon emissions. For reporting, in April 2023, the SEC will be announcing new reporting requirements for the US public entities, and we will have all those agencies fully integrated into our platform. Next slide. Various links within this platform where you can pull emission reports to view at any time to see where you are and where you need to improve. These are reduction strategy reports to identify mitigation options available to all your specific locations. And with that, I'm going to turn this over to Javier Munoz, and he's going to discuss scope 1, 2, and 3 emissions and some of our products and services that go along with those. Thank you.
Thanks, Jason. Next slide, please. So I want to start off from talking about the 3 different scopes for greenhouse gas emissions. So you have scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3. Scope 1 are direct emissions that are created at the customer site through your own equipment that you use at your facility. Scope 2 are indirect emissions from power plants that produce the electricity that you use at your facility. And scope 3 are supply chain emissions for raw materials you purchase from other companies to produce your product within your facility. Next slide, please. And we have various products to help customers with all 3 of these different scopes and help them reduce their emissions. Next slide, please. Starting off with scope 1, the easiest way and quickest way is through efficiency projects. And so Constellation has a product called Efficiency Made Easy. And this is a unique award-winning solution that provides you an opportunity to do conservation measures to lower your usage at your facilities. There's no upfront capital for this, and it's done through monthly charges that appear on your power or natural gas supply bill from Constellation. So we work with partners that will go through your facility and identify measures where you can do, for example, HVAC upgrades, lighting upgrades, controls, things of that nature that will reduce your energy footprint. This program has been around since 2011. And to date, Constellation has done over $200 million in efficiency projects through this Efficiency Made Easy program. And this is a great way to quickly reduce your scope 1 emissions. Next slide, please. Another product we offer are renewable energy certificates. And this will cover your scope 2 emissions. And these renewable energy certificates here in Michigan, essentially because there's no really electric open program here in Michigan, you would buy blocks of RECs that would cover the usage that you would use, like for the amount of electricity you use for a year. And so these are Green E certified, sourced from wind facilities around the United States. And in doing this is a quick way to reduce your scope 2 emissions and help you with that aspect. This is one product that we've seen tremendous growth in over the last few years with customers asking for this product here. Next slide, please. The next thing is we have almost similar, but on the gas side, this is also carbon offsets. So this is similar to a renewable energy certificate on the power side. So in this case, the natural gas consumption is offset using these carbon offsets. And this is sourced through forestry or energy efficiency projects, industrial process improvements, carbon capture. There's no facility or equipment modifications that are required for you to do. And again, this will cover your scope 1 and scope 3 emissions. So this is another product that we're seeing over the last couple of years, growth in this space as well, and customers asking for more with this particular product, more of this product. So next slide, please. The next one is the RNG, so renewable natural gas. So renewable natural gas is sourced from landfills, wastewater treatment plants, commercial and agricultural waste digesters. And so again, this here will help in your direct scope 1 emissions. So your gas consumption is matched with the RNG certificates, and it reduces your scope 1 emissions. This particular product is just starting to see some growth over the last year. It is a little pricey to do, but we do have customers that are asking for this actual renewable natural gas. Next slide, please. And this graph here is just showing that demand that I've talked about. So you can see the growth in customers asking for specific renewable products. And the growth is tremendous from 2008 to 2022. And it's going to continue to track upwards as we get more and more customers asking us for ways to help them with their emissions and to become more sustainable. Next slide, please. This slide here shows again some of the actual projects, and this is these are companies that have done projects called through our core products. So this is Constellation Offsite Actual Renewables. So this is renewable energy directly served to the customers, and you can see again from 2018 to 2022 the growth that we've seen in this space as well, and we continue to see more and more demand for customers asking for this product as well to be sourced directly with renewable energy. Next slide, please. So we're here to help customers build a roadmap to sustainability, and we have all the product lines that customers need in order to become more sustainable. Next slide, please. And so we like to work with you, the 2030 members, to help set a plan and monitor it through all the analytics that we have. So that would be establishing your baseline, understanding your facility, looking for ways to reduce your energy and your carbon footprint, and monitoring it all. And all of this technology and products that Constellation has, will help you with your sustainability goals. Next slide, please. And again, I want to thank you on behalf of myself and Jason for allowing us the time here to talk about Constellation. That's a lot that we gave you at once. But again, understand that Constellation we're a full service energy provider, and we can help you in whatever ways you need efficiencies or the energy itself in order to help you with your sustainability goals. Jason, you want to add anything? Unmute.
Sorry about that. No, thanks, Javier. No, everything was great. Once again, appreciate us having this opportunity. And if anybody wants to reach out to us, please do, and we'd be happy to talk to you.
Yeah, thank
Thank
you,
you.
Jason and Javier. That was a really great presentation. I may have some follow-up questions later too, but I didn't see any questions in the chat right now. So if we don't have any questions at this time, number one, I don't know if either of you would mind putting your contact info in the chat if people wanted to follow up with you, or if there's an email address at Constellation where people can reach out if they have more questions. But also, we should have some time at the end today. So if anybody thinks of any other questions for Jason and Javier, put them in the chat. But I'm going to stop sharing right now. And I'm going to introduce our next speaker while he is pulling up his slides. So I would like to introduce Rajul Patel, or Raj. He is the CEO of Citratech. He's going to be presenting on HVAC energy savings utilizing UV light today. And I just also want to recognize that Citratech is also one of our statewide professional stakeholders. And so we appreciate your support and partnership with the 3 2030 districts in Michigan. Thank you, Raj.
Okay, thank you, Kendall, and thank you, Connie, for allowing us to present today. So I am the CEO, co-founder of Citra Technologies. We have 2 divisions: general lighting, where we represent over 80 different lighting product lines, lighting control product lines. And then we have the UV side of the business, where we custom design UV solutions for indoor air quality, so air disinfection, and for energy savings. So today we are going to focus this presentation more on the energy saving benefits of our UV systems. And I'd also like to mention that we are a Constellation EME partner. We're an alliance partner, so we can offer the EME program as well. So one of the questions, we get when we're speaking to facility groups or engineers is, does UV really work? So UV has a long history, nearly a century of proven efficacy. So ASHRAE states, it's the only add-on technology for air disinfection that has peer-reviewed proven efficacy. And they have released recently the ASHRAE position on infectious aerosols, October 13th, 2022, which outlines that and also outlines the energy savings and maintenance savings capabilities of UV. So who is UV technology taught to? So again, when we're in the field and we're speaking to facility groups and infectious control experts, there's confusion as to who do we go to, right, for some of these answers. So typically, they'll go to a engineering firm that specifies mechanical systems, their HVAC or HVAC contractor. But nobody's really had the formal training in UV systems. So this quote here by Dr. Edward Nardell, this is a very recent quote in an interview, where he states that it's really fallen between disciplines as far as UV systems design goes. So, and a lot of people don't know about it, and we do find that. So now getting right to the energy savings part of UV, how does that work, right? How does this blue light in the HVAC system save energy? So here's a study done in 1998 by the California Society of Healthcare Engineering. And what they did is they looked at different levels of fouling on a cooling coil and the associated thermal losses, right? So the fouling, otherwise known as a biofilm, you can see here 6 thousandths of an inch to 36 thousandths of an inch. At 36 thousandths of an inch, you're losing 32% thermal loss. So these are things that are happening in every air handler, rooftop unit, and there's adjustments being made by facilities that compensate for this over time, but this is increasing energy usage. And it's not always visible. So many times when we open up these units and we're looking at them with the HVAC techs at a given facility, they may say, well, we manually clean our coils and they visibly look fairly clean. Well, we're looking at microscopic level of biofilm here, so it's not always clearly visible, but the negative effects are there. I will say, it varies unit to unit, even in the same building, how much biofilm is built up. There's several studies that were done for the effects or how effective manual coil cleaning is. And, typical manual coil cleaning involves spraying chemicals, using pressure washers. And these studies, including an ASHRAE study, have found that the biomatter is actually more compacted towards the center of the coil, which is actually reducing, the airflow and therefore performance of the system. So in this one study here, they dissected the coil after trying to manually clean it. And you can see that that first inch or so looks fairly clean. And then that biomatter has been pushed towards the center. And how that biofilm, actually increases costs, right? If you have a brand new, so top left, we have a new coil system designed at 500 feet per minute airflow. When it goes through the fins, that air velocity accelerates, right, to 850, and you're achieving 54-degree wet bulb temperature there. Now, on the bottom, you see we're only adding 0.006 of an inch of biofilm, and the results are air velocity has increased to 1,000, and we've lost efficiency. 4-degree difference there with just 0.006 of an inch of biofilm. Now, that narrowing of the fins, where the air velocity has increased, we're using more fan energy. So the fan energy savings are significant. And in fact, most studies show that the fan energy savings are actually higher than the thermal energy savings. So another question that's asked to us, are these savings net of any costs associated with the UV, such as the energy used by the UV system itself, right? So we've taken a quote right out of one of the studies here. Savings in fan energy were 39% greater than the energy used by the UV lamps. This was a study done by National University of Singapore with Penn State. And these are some common, responses, right, that the facilities may do as the system's becoming more inefficient due to the biofilm. You're speeding up the fan, you pump more chilled water, you lower coil temp, all of these actions trying to get the cooling temp to achieve the cooling temp, but you're also increasing energy use there. So how does this blue light, work, right? So the UVC light, so in the UVC business, we call these lamps or bulbs emitters. So these emitters are placed physically downstream of the cooling coil. That is the ideal location. And in this second image here, it's a ray tracing model. So second image on the top here, you'll see how the UV energy is dispersed within the chamber. So there's two things here. We're looking at the energy hitting the coil, and then we're also looking at the energy hitting the airstream. So in the airstream side, that's going to deal more on the air disinfection. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. Now, skipping to the last image here, we have a cross section of a cooling coil. So to the right are where the UV emitters are placed. And what you're seeing here is the UV energy as it hits the coil, how it's propagating through the fins. Now you're going to notice many of these fins, the UV energy or light is not propagating through. It's kind of stuck here in the kind of beginning of inch or so of the coil. what's happening there is the UV energy is working its way through that biofilm. As it disables the biofilm and it detaches from the coil, and as condensate washes that off, now we expose the reflective surface where the UV light can further propagate deeper through the coil. We normally find 60 to 90 days to get through an entire depth of the coil. So on the bottom here, we're just showing a photo taken before UV installation and then 5 weeks after. So in 5 weeks, you're seeing the effects of the UV already take place. But like this cutaway image shows, it's still working its way through, the depth of the coil. So, we started the presentation, the first slide asked the question, does UV work? And, I would put a big asterisk there, right? So yes, UV works, but this system must be designed properly or it's not going to work. And the second factor is the product that you're using. So at Citra, we represent Sterile Air. We're a master distributor for Sterile Air. We can sell and distribute Sterile Air globally. Sterile Air has a 30-year record founded by a professor of microbiology. And there's many technical reasons why we chose to go with Sterile Air. Next slide, we'll talk a little bit about that. Here, I want to touch on some factors. These are not all the factors, but these are some of the highlights. We look at average UV intensity on the coil face at the furthest corners of the coil, right, when we first designed. And more importantly, we're looking at that same thing at the end of life of the emitter. So just like a fluorescent lamp, the UV emitter will have a depreciation curve. So we design at the lowest output, and to ensure that during the life, which is 12 months, that we're hitting, we never hit below our design targets. And that brings me to the next part of this, establishing a goal for airborne disinfection. So in our experience, and we have audited hundreds of air handlers and rooftop units. And in the medical field, we find, there'll be a handful of systems, air handlers that have UV in them. To date, we have never found a system where the personnel at the site were aware of any goal or design basis. They simply don't have one. And that's just not the way, you can design a UV system. There must be some basis. So for instance, for airborne, if you want 99% disinfection of the COVID virus on first pass, meaning that as the air travels through the air handler a single time, that we're getting 99% disinfection of the COVID virus. So all these different pathogens, there are established, what they call a kill rate table. And it gives you the UV dosage needed to disable that particular pathogen. So there's many different pathogens, and each one has a different level of UV dosage in order to disable. COVID actually happens to be pretty easy to disable. Something like molds and fungus are on the other end of the spectrum where it requires a lot of UV energy. So these are systems that you just can't put the blue light in there and it's going to work. It has to be designed properly with the right product. And then measurement and verification, right? So if any vendor provides a UV design and says it's doing X, there must be measurement and verification. And we can do that through sensors to measure in the field actual output of the system. We can also deploy these sensors in existing, it doesn't matter whose UV system it is. We can measure and see what is it actually doing or not doing, and then make corrective, measures from there. So I mentioned product, the importance of the product. So not all UV is the same. The best kind of analogy I can give is if you're familiar with LED lighting, you have a measure of lumens per watt. So I can have product A at 100 lumens per watt, and I can have product B at 175 lumens per watt. So product B is giving me more light for the same amount of energy consumed. So similarly, on the UV side, for each watt of power consumption, there's a different level of UV intensity that's given off. So we have found sales people have been trained who may not be technical to make things easy, where they're given rules of thumb. Either they say you need X amount of wattage per some coil size, or per a coil size you need certain amount of UV emitters. It doesn't, that's not the way the design works. When we were vetting UV manufacturers, we asked the question, how do we tell the difference, right? So fortunately, there was a study from the EPA and the Department of Homeland Security, because the Homeland Security is interested in UV from a bioterrorism perspective. Like all GSA buildings are required to have UV. So this study, they bought a handful of different brands and studied them and have the documentation on the output and dosage performance. And you can see, sterile air at operating temperatures within an air handler had 6 times the output of its nearest competitor. So, we look for actual testing and, the science behind this. This is what our deliverable would look like. So I'm not going to get into all the intricacies here, but just as a visual to show the setup of the emitters, all the outputs in microwatts per centimeter squared, and then we're looking at these furthest most corners to make sure that on an average we're hitting the dosage needed for the goal for that particular project. And this is the measurement verification tool we have through Sterile Air. It's called SmartView. We can look at UV intensity. It'll give us a list of pathogens and what that disinfection dose looks like, emitter life. So that's the emitter life remaining, runtime, how many hours it's operated. And then there's automatic notifications and alerts. So it makes maintenance very easy. You don't have to go and physically look at this system to see if it's working or not. It'll tell you if an emitter happened to fail or something happened to the system. It'll tell you that. Plus you have reports to show that you are achieving the dosage necessary for whatever the goal was, right? Whichever type of pathogen that was the target, that you're actually getting that throughout the entire operating life. So the emitters are changed out annually. So you want to make sure that you're hitting that, all the way until change out. Now here's what the savings can look like, right? And I mentioned there's variability, that like how much coil fouling there is, the length of cooling season, just many different factors. But I just chose this particular research paper, put it in a table format, so easy to read. This comes right from the International Journal of Scientific Technology Research. And this was a study done strictly on energy savings ability of UV light. And here you'll see before UVC and after UVC, what it does to the air volume, your dry and wet bulb temps, entering and then leaving. So you'll see, leaving a wet bulb was at 57.9, now it's 55.9. So they've calculated the net cooling capacity gains here, right? And what that means from an energy savings perspective. So pretty significant here. We typically, there's the span can be from 10% to 30% plus. It really varies on how old these systems are, what the environment that it's operating is like, and so forth. Indoor air quality, you know, is a big topic these days, right? Even for like wellness standards, and with all the viruses going around with, you know, coronavirus and RSV, you know, influenza, it's important to address indoor air quality. And now, you know, you have the ability to do that with an investment like this that has a strong ROI. And, you know, we're putting it as a bonus benefit at no extra cost, because you're investing to get the energy savings, but you're getting the indoor air quality improvements. So that's a great dual benefit there. To sum things up, on the savings side, you know, the savings are happening from the thermal energy savings, which also result in fan energy savings. And then on the cost, right, against that, you annual replacement of the emitters, and then the actual energy consumed by the UV system itself. So we have a net, you know, savings of 10 to around 30%. And now additional savings, and these additional savings in some cases can really drive the ROI down. So cost avoidance of manual coil cleaning. Now you may be doing that in-house, and it doesn't, by not having to do it on the labor side, it may not save dollars, because those people are not going to do another task, but dollar, you know, wages are still there. But if you're contracting it out, and we had several customers contract this out, now they save the entire cost of the contract, because the UV is continuously cleaning the coil. It's an automated coil cleaning system. And then reduced HVAC maintenance, because your cycle times with it being more efficient are down. All the components are not having to work as hard. And that is, by the way, proven by some ASHRAE standards, ASHRAE studies that have been done on that. And then additional benefits, we talked about the indoor air quality improvements. And then, you know, there are studies of sick days and things like that in office buildings. And then HAIs, which is a big one in hospitals, hospital-acquired infections. The savings there alone are tremendous. Here's, I've got my contact info up. I know this was very high level. I wanted to kind of keep it high level, but would be happy, reach out to me to talk about some further detail. Like to thank all the participants today for joining the call. And once again, thank you to the USGBC, to Kendall and Connie. And I'll turn it back over to Connie.
All right, thank you. Great presentation. I will turn it over to Kendall.
Thank you. Thanks, Raj, for that presentation. I didn't see any questions come through in the chat, but I appreciate you sharing your email with everyone in case they want to reach out at a later time. And just, I wanted to remind everyone that we will be posting. What was that?
There's a question that just popped in, Eric.
Oh, okay. Well, and I did have one other question for Constellation that I wanted to ask too, but I guess before I go to that question, Eric had asked Raj, why is the emitter located downstream instead of upstream where the particles will collide with the coil face? What kind of incentives are available from utility programs? Is the emitter 100% of the time, or does it only emit while the fan is active?
Okay, so why downstream, right? Downstream in all the research has found to be the most effective for getting the airborne particles, because there's particles that are attached. Some are more permanently attached, right, with the biofilm, and some are pushed, that have landed on the coil, but then are jarred loose by the airflow. So we're capturing those, where if we were upstream, we wouldn't be able to capture those. Also, we're cleaning by placing it there, is cleaning the drain pan. One of the other issues we normally find on upstream is the filter banks might be located there, and we have to keep a distance from the filter banks because the UV light will deteriorate the filters. As far as utilities, we're working on it. So we are working with DNV and DTE on trying to get some incentives in place. It's a little complex because we'd have to have some design standards and things attached to that, but it's a work in progress right now on that side of things. And then, I'm sorry, the last part of the question, the runtime. So yes, the recommended operating time is 24/7. It doesn't turn on and off because, see, the biofilm never stops. The second, you don't have UV on, these particles land on the coil and they start multiplying. You can put a brand new unit in today. The second you turn airflow through there, that buildup is starting. So all the data shows you run it 24/7.
All right. Yeah. Thank you, Eric. Those were great questions. And thank you, Raj. If there are no other questions, I did have one other that came through for Constellation for Jason and Javier. Under EME, does the engineer also work with the customer on implementation, or is it solely finding efficiency projects?
Go ahead, Javier.
Oh, I'm sorry. What was the question again? I'm sorry.
Sure, no problem. So under EME, does the engineer also work with the customer on implementation, or is it solely finding efficiency projects?
I'm assuming you're talking about when the walkthrough happens and the engineer walks through to determine what facilities. So it's all done together as a group, right? So once we identify those efficiency projects, then they're installed, and then the customer owns the equipment from there. So there is an engineering, obviously, takes place, prior to any of the equipment getting put in. So I'm not sure if that exactly answers the question, but
Hey, Javier.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to interrupt. My name.
no,
I'm
Frank. Oh, there you are, Frank.
Yeah.
Hey, how are you? Yeah, this is Frank.
No.
Frank also works. He works directly in the EME group with Constellation. Go ahead, Frank.
Yeah. I just wanted to jump in on that. I mean, just to say that our contractors, our EME Alliance partners that we work with, do work very closely with the customers, right? I mean, there's a couple different things, right? I mean, obviously there's that interaction, there's that quality of work, and the safety record that we as Constellation that we hold very dearly, because at the end of the day we want our customers to have the project that they signed up for. But on top of that, right, is the Constellation oversight. Constellation EME also works closely with the customers, right? We have our own operations and safety team, right, that reviews the engineering of each project, that does the site visits. So there's a couple layers of and as many layers as the customer wants, but we don't want to overwhelm them. But yes, there is contact with the EME partner, with the customer, because they're the boots on the ground that's actually going to be doing the project. And then there's people like myself who are on the EME team that will work with the customer. And then obviously there is the oversight from our operations and safety team that also work really not so much with the customer as much, I mean, there is that when it comes to, reviewing and doing the site visits, but a lot of that interaction is with our partners as well. So it's a whole triangle of oversight and interaction with the customer.
Appreciate that, Frank. Thanks.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you, Frank. And with that, we are 1 minute over, so I just want to be respectful of everyone's time. Again, thank you to all of our presenters and everybody who attended. Frank, I'm glad you were able to be here to help answer some questions too. I hope everybody has a great rest of your Friday and a great weekend, and look for an email from us. We'll send out the recording from today's meeting.
Thank you, Kendall. Thanks
Thank
for
you,
having us.
everyone.
Thank you. Have a good weekend.
Thank you, everybody.
Good webinar, thanks.
Bye, Connie.